Here's something people often forget. It all starts with the basics, and the basics consist of two parts, right? So they consist of grounding and they consist of, you know, preventative um, factors. I view preventative factors simply as self-care. But what is self-care, right? Well, self-care for one might mean just brushing your hair, doing the things you need to do on a day-to-day basis. The way I look at it is in a very structured way that might not work for everybody, but it doesn't matter how it's laid out. It matters that it's done, right? So for me, I structure my self-care in three distinct categories, right? One is the necessities of daily life. So that would be showering, eating, sleeping, brushing your teeth, things like that, you know. What do you need to survive? You need to hydrate. You need to eat meals. You need to, as I said, shower, because, I mean, that's just basic hygiene, right? And a lot of negative consequences come when you do not abide with basic hygiene, right? So, I don't think any of this is surprising to anyone, but I do think that it's not what people think of usually when they're thinking self-care. Now, I think of this because personally in my life, right, what I have noticed is that when I need self-care, it's because I am burning the candle at both ends, as they say. Or maybe I'm feeling down, right? Um, Maybe seasonal depression is really taking its toll on me. Whatever it is, when I'm in those spaces, the first thing to go is taking care of myself. The first thing to go is the basics, right? I forget to eat a meal, right? I'm writing a 10-page paper on, you know, some counseling theory or, the effects of, a certain type of treatment, whatever. And in the process of that, yeah, I'm getting a lot done, but I'm forgetting to eat breakfast. And when I finish at 3 or 5 or 11, whenever it is, I realize, oh, I haven't even had breakfast yet. Oh, have I, you know, done the things that center me, that make me feel, I don't know, grounded, as I said before? And the answer always is no. Because if I do those things, I'm not in those places, usually. Um, and so, yeah, moving on, there's two other categories, as I mentioned, right? It's self-care that I do by myself. Now, what does that look like? Honestly, that depends on the individual. it requires you to do some exploring, right? What makes you feel, what makes you feel at peace? What makes you feel comfortable? What makes you feel relaxed, right? For me, it's watching old cartoons that remind me of my childhood, or working out, or listening to music, things like that. So, again, it's what self-care can I do on my own? Well, those are examples. Other examples might be go outside for a walk. Right? Go just look around in nature and, I don't know, if you like plant life, just go be with plants. It sounds simple and it sounds silly to some, but what works for you, and that's all that matters. Like, that is wholeheartedly all that matters, and I don't know that we talk about it enough, but it's true. If it works, it works. And if you're better for it, then that's what matters, right? And then, so moving on, there's a third aspect, which is self-care that you can do with others. Now, some of these can do the same thing. I don't know why I'm yawning so much. Maybe I need self-care and maybe I need to sleep and all of that. But anyway, self-care that you can do with others might look similar in some ways, like watch a movie with family, or let's see, you could listen to music with family, or you could go for a ride with your friends. You could go have coffee with a loved one. You could, uh, honestly, you could do the same thing with working out. I personally like to work out on my own because then I can focus on me and my needs and my wants and my goals. But, you know, if it works better to do that with somebody, whether it motivates you, holds you accountable, then you know what? That's what matters. Again, it's all about what works for you, and that's all there is to it. So, here's the thing. Why am I talking about this? Why am I talking about something that seems to have no significance other than, what I've already mentioned? Hmm. Good question. Have you thought about it yet? Hmm. Yeah, okay. I'll tell you. So, the reason I'm talking about this, the reason I have spent this time discussing this is to lay the groundwork, right? So, I needed to give you an idea of what self-care is before I explained why self-care is important and why this is important to me enough to make a video about it. Well, I think that self-care has become a term we use, right? We recognize that we're tired, we recognize that we're stressed, we recognize that we're overwhelmed, all of these things, and the first thing we say is, I could use some self-care. I could use some relaxation. I could use some me time, but we don't go about it the way we should. Self-care isn't a, you know, isn't a tool to use when you need it. I mean, I guess it's what it is, but it's more than that. It's not a, oh, I'm tired, I'm gonna use self-care. It's a practice. It's something you do consistently, right? And when you do it consistently, you learn a few things. You learn that, you know, okay, one, you learn what works for you. Maybe you're not that into cartoons, right? But maybe you love the idea of going for a jog. Maybe you don't like jogging, but you love the idea of skincare routines. Maybe you aren't really into skincare routines, but you love baking, right? And you love baking because it reminds you of your childhood or because it allows you to have, a way to connect with those around you. You love, the act of service, all of these things. Like, you wouldn't figure that out if you didn't practice them and figure out what worked for you, what didn't work for you. For me, I didn't even really use self-care until, I don't know, my first year in grad school, right? I mean, the whole time I was growing up, I told myself, oh, I'm an extrovert. I recharge by having those around me. It doesn't matter who, as long as somebody's around me, I feel recharged. Now, that's important information for me to know, but here's the thing. One day, it stopped working, and that day it stopped working was the day I started grad school and had people around me all day in one class from 9 in the morning to 5 in the afternoon, right? One class, one topic, all the same people. I get home and I'm exhausted. In fact, I have my jacket on and I'm feeling like I'm suffocating. And I think to myself, what regulates me? What makes me feel comfortable? What recharges me? Well, what recharges me is seeing my friends. So I go up to my friend's apartment shortly afterward. And I'm enjoying it. I'm enjoying the company, but the whole time I'm thinking, this isn't working. Like, this is not having the effect it usually does. What is going on? I mean, it's worked for the last 10 years. What's the difference? Well, the difference is my life changed, right? And what worked for me in the 9 other situations didn't work for me in this one. So I thought about it, right? And I realized that self-care changes and has to change because self-care is based on doing what you need in the situation you're in. And if every situation is different, then what works for you in one situation is not always going to work for you in another situation. And for that reason, I made that categorized list of things I could do. Now, you know, I think that I thought, hey, if I do this in the moment, I'll be good. No, if I do this in the moment, it's because I'm realizing afterwards precisely how overwhelmed I am. But if I do it daily, if I practice it daily, then I can circumvent that stress. Then I can redirect that anger. Then I can solve the problem of being drained before it happens. Hence the preventative care I was talking about. Right? So we as a society like quick fixes. We as a society value work, hard work, consistent work. And because of that, we also think that slowing down, taking a break, aside from maybe a lunch break, is not okay. We say, oh, we have way too much to do this weekend. We cannot afford to slow down. But what happens when you burn yourself out? Your immune system can't work as hard. You don't have enough energy. Your mood, you know, just is so chaotic. Like, all of these things are knocked out of balance. And we sit there and we're like, why? Why are we feeling this? What is going on? None of it makes sense. Well, what's going on is we've been neglecting our needs this whole time, thinking, oh, we can't afford to do this. And then we just assume that self care, well, one act of, you know, self care is gonna make everything go away. All our problems just float away. And that's the quick thinking mentality. So, what do? We have to change the way we approach these things. And in order to do that, we have to look at these things differently. And so, when I say self care, I'm really just asking you, like, what makes you feel good? What do you enjoy? What do you value? Right? And what are different times in life where you're stressed? Think about all these things and then use that information. Right? If, you know, you're stressed after being with people all day, the obvious answer, or maybe not obvious in my case when I started grad school, but the answer might simply be you've been around people all day. You need to be, you know, allowed to have your own time. your own space, and that's okay. But it's recognizing these so that it doesn't come out in some other form, usually anger, depression, things like this, right? I mean, I don't think I know anyone that says, oh, being pissed off, being angry, being sad, it's great. It's so fun. Well, it's not fun for us and it's not fun for the other people around you. So why not do something about it? It's that simple. It requires you to do some thinking ahead of time, but it can be done. It doesn't have to be big. It doesn't have to cost money. It doesn't have to, you know, be a vacation. I mean, those are big events that, yeah, they're nice, but self-care isn't about big events. It's about those things you can afford to do on a daily basis. I mean, do you like working out? Do you like yoga? Do you like movies? Do you enjoy cooking? Like, what are these things you enjoy? If you enjoy fishing, do that. No, drinking is not a good one. And that's a whole other topic, but the short version is that drinking is a way to escape, and it also has negative effects on your body, right? We're looking for healthy ways that you can achieve self care. These are things that maybe a therapist will go over, maybe they won't. I mean, I always ask my clients these things because it gives me an idea of what works for them, gives me an idea of what doesn't work for them, and it gives them a place to start because I cannot ask somebody to do work on themselves if they don't have a foundation. And self care, in my mind, is 50% of that foundation. The other 50% of the foundation are grounding skills, grounding exercises, which I will go into in, you know, another video, but this one is already 23 minutes, and I don't know about you, but my attention span when I'm watching something for too long, it just goes away, and I forget pretty much everything but the beginning of the video and the end of the video. So again, to wrap up, what do you enjoy? What do you need when you're feeling stressed and overwhelmed? Write these questions down, right? Write them down. Try things out. Whatever you need to do, it's totally fine. You owe it to yourself to, treat yourself with enough care to figure these things out. You're going to be better for it because you spent the time to think these through. That's all there is to it.